brought the fans back to the vet? Let's bring in Merrill Reese, who started calling games. When he came in to the broadcast booth was when Dick Vermeil was there. Is that a fair assessment, Merrill, that Vermeil was probably one of the most important people in Eagle history, that he brought the fans back to the vet?
And not only was he that, Dan, but in my biased opinion, of all the managers and coaches in all sports in the history of this great city, Dick Vermeil is held in the highest esteem.
Wow. Of all the people since you've been in the broadcast booth.
Since I've been alive.
Holy cow.
That's 115 years.
It's got to be great to see him on Sunday, because he's going to be there and he's going to be honored. And you know what, Merrill? I said this about him also. Every place that he went into, except maybe Kansas City, because the Hunt family, they kind of keep that thing on the same railroad tracks each and every single year since Lamar was there. But that's always been a good organization. But most of the places were rebuilds. What was it like being around him when he first became the head coach of the Eagles?
Energizing. I mean, he was unbelievable. He moved a mile a minute. He was Mr. Energy. I talk about sitting down and talking with coaches. You couldn't sit down and talk to Dick. You had to move as he moved. And if you were doing a 10-minute pregame show with him, at about 9 minutes, he's looking at his watch nervously. And as I say, thanks, Dick, he's gone. I mean, he was unbelievable. He was there 20 hours a day.
Merrill, was there some reservation in bringing, because if I'm not mistaken, he's the only other coach outside of Chip Kelly that you brought in from the college ranks during your time to be head coach. Was there any reservations, in your opinion, hiring a college coach back then?
I don't think so. Not in the case of Dick Vermeil, who followed Mike McCormick to become the Eagles head coach, because don't forget, he had just won the Rose Bowl with UCLA, and he was the bright young coach who beat Woody Hayes. So I thought it was really exciting, and I think most people did.
First month of the season in 2023 for Merrill Reese, looking from above down onto the Eagles, has been what?
Fun. A lot of fun. And really, they are 4-0. I mean, as we talked about last week, there are no pictures on the scorecard. You win or you lose, and they're 4-0.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then, Merrill. People are saying this about Brian Johnson, that the offense is sputtering a little bit. And I want to bring a point up to you that I had my guy on in the first hour. We were kind of talking about it. Look at Josh Allen right now, Merrill. He's won his second AFC Offensive Player of the Month with Ken Dorsey. Last year, they were talking about those guys getting on the same page. Now, all of a sudden, Josh Allen is playing great football because they're in sync together. Do you think, even though they're friends, Merrill, it's just taking a little time to get everything all hooked up looking like it did a year ago?
Well, number one, they don't play in the preseason at all. There's no hitting in the preseason. None of the regulars play in the game for 2 minutes in a preseason game. So that's one thing. Number two, I love Josh Allen. I think he's an amazing quarterback, a great athlete. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't want Jalen Hurts playing the way Josh Allen plays, and his coaches don't want him playing the way Josh Allen plays, and that means throwing your body into harm's way. Josh Allen will take on linebackers. He flies through the air with the greatest of ease. I mean, he is amazing. But Jalen Hurts is purposely taking a lot of the run out of his game. I mean, most RPOs are P. And that's what he's doing. And if he takes off and he sees somebody coming up, he politely slides down or gets out of bounds. That's what they want. 2 years ago, he hurt his ankle, missed time. Last year, he hurt his shoulder in Chicago, missed time. Their goal is to have Jalen Hurts around for 17 games plus. So that's what they're doing. But it's a different approach than what we've seen in the past. But I think, to be honest with you, Dan, it's the only sensible approach. I don't know if, and I'm not saying this to jinx him, because I told you I think he's a great quarterback and probably a great guy. And I think the world of Sean McDermott, who's a friend. But I don't know if Josh Allen can make it through a season with that kind of reckless, and I mean that in the admirable, being admiring how he plays, but it's dangerous the way he throws himself around.
Most impressive Eagle for you in the first month of the season has been who?
Well, Jalen has been fine, but of the guys you really didn't expect these things of, how about DeAndre Swift? He's been amazing, amazing. You can't just say one. How about Jalen Carter, who has arrived as if he has been in this league forever, and one other guy who I want to tell you, Dan, he's probably the best in football right now at his position, and that is Britton Covey. He is amazing. Going back to last year, to the sixth game of the 2022 season until now, he is leading all punt returners in yards and an average. He can break open a game.
How about Reed Blankenship too, Merrill?
Well, he's terrific. He's a good football player, but I expected him to be. He's very, very solid. He's a terrific safety. They can use one more. And I think actually they have another one who is going to be ready very soon, and we've spoken about him before, but he will solidify that group, and that is Sidney Brown.
Are you concerned about the loss of Fletcher Cox on Sunday because of the epidural now? Hey, I'll tell you this, Merrill. I think you have an upgrade, and I'll get your opinion because I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but I think Jalen Carter, if you have to evaluate the money, because you always do because it's pro football, the money that was given to Javon, it was $20 million versus a rookie contract, the impact he's making. I think this group is better than it was a year ago. And Fletcher Cox has been kicking ass in the first month of the season. His impact of him not being out there will be what, in your opinion?
I don't know. He's good. He's really, really good, and he's played at the top of his game. And if he misses this week, and I'm not 100% sure, but if he misses this week, they say he'll be back in a week. So worse things can happen to your roster, as you know. I mean, they lost Devontae Maddox, their nickel corner for the season. So if you lose somebody, even an impact player, other than a quarterback for one game, especially in an area of depth, they'll be okay. May not be Fletcher who replaces him, but they have enough talent on that front line to make up for one game.
I'm hearing Randy Gregory could potentially be added to the mix here too, so they may be still looking to add some more pieces to this. So, Merrill, I'll say this to you, though. The one thing that has been disappointing has been that they've not been able to get the football to Dallas Goedert, 88 yards. He's been really a non-factor. Now, I'll say that just in the passing game because if you watch him in the run blocking and you watch him, he still is part of the dominating run blocking game, Merrill. But for you, not having him part of the offense when it comes to the play calling and getting him the ball in the air, what do you, in your opinion, what do you think that again, does it get rectified? Is it just something that they're working out?
Yeah, I just think it'll happen. But two things, Stan. He caught a couple of balls last week. Each one of them were critical catches that he had to make. And Nick Sirianni says the attention he draws opens things up for the other receivers, even if he's not getting thrown to. But he will get thrown to more, I'm sure. He's a great player.
Yeah, and Merrill, for me, again, Kenny Gainwell, give me your sense of why he's such an important part. And I brought this up, and tell me if you agree or disagree. I think these are where Jalen Hurts' carries were last year. They're going to him instead of they're going to Hurts. And you talked about it at the beginning when we first started talking here today, that, this is about preserving, not playing like Josh Allen. Do you think that's why the importance of having Kenny Gainwell's out there? Because he's got more touches right now, Merrill, than even Dallas Goedert. And it looks to me those were the carries that Jalen had a year ago. They're going to him. Is that his importance in the offense?
Well, a couple of things. I noticed that they're putting him more in late game situations where he can run the ball, but even more importantly, he's a good blocker in the backfield. He's probably the best guy to have in the backfield to keep Jalen clean before he throws a pass. He also catches the swing pass very, very well. But the bell cow back on this team is DeAndre Swift. He has been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But keeping something else in mind, if you look at DeAndre Swift rarely in his career has had anything approaching a full season. He does get hurt. So if you can minimize the carries and keep him fresh and get Gainwell in there, and don't forget Boston Scott, he hasn't gotten his share of carries yet either, and Boston's a terrific player. I can understand rather than loading up one guy and risking a shortened season.
Okay, so how about this? You're going to SoHi Stadium, and you're going to see more Eagle fans at SoHi Stadium when you go in there. So, Merrill, at the end of the day here, you're going to feel like you're at the Link on the West Coast here, man. That's got to be – you're going to have a lot of fans. I hear it's not a bad booth.
I don't know. I hope SoHi Stadium doesn't turn into be So Far Stadium, because the newer the stadiums, they put us further and further away from the field and from the 50-yard line. I hope they don't put us out in Carlsbad, California or something.
And you know you're in the – I know that I'm in the wrong place, Merrill, when they're serving me cheese and wieners on a toothpick with Chardonnay. I just know that I'm not in the right place. Me, I'm a brat and a beer kind of guy. So I don't want anybody showing up like this, Merrill, with a napkin over his arm trying to give me a white wine spritzer. It's not going to work for me.
Well, but whatever they give me, I just hope I can see where I am. You know, when I did the Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota, the one they won, we were seated in a corner of the end zone. I told you that when they said to me, "Were you nervous when Brady loaded up the last time?" I said, "Yeah." Not about him connecting, about would I be able to call it cleanly, because we were 110 yards away from where that ball landed, corner of the end zone. Oh, it's an awful sight. And well, we won't even talk about the dump in Washington. And Pittsburgh isn't any good, and Arizona's down in the corner. Although we got the home booth, which was at least at the 10-yard line for this past Super Bowl. But these beautiful stadiums, I shouldn't care, because I shouldn't say anything, because I don't think listeners really care about where.
No, I think you have to have perception of the game. You can't be behind us like the one in Dallas. When you not agree, where they sit you guys in Dallas, I mean, if you're sitting at different seats, you don't have a very good view of the entire field.
Well, the difference in Dallas is, number one, we have this huge booth that has its own bathroom, its own refrigerator. It's a luxury suite. Number two, even though we're in the corner of the end zone, when I can see them pretty easily from the 40 or 50-yard in, and when they're on the other side of the field, we merely look down at that gigantic board and call it off of that. And that's pretty good. You get used to that because you can see it cleanly. It's in real time, except when a play starts and they're still focusing on a cheerleader. Then it becomes difficult.
Absolutely, Merrill. I so appreciate it. And by the way, have you called the game at this stadium?
No, I've never been there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know that it's bad. I'm saying I hope SoHi isn't so far.
Merrill, have a great trip. And let's see what happens. This should be a very interesting football game, as they always are on a Sunday and any given Sunday. Thank you so much. Merrill Reese will be calling the 4-0 Philadelphia Eagles as they take on the 2-2 Rams. Thank you so much, Merrill.
Thank you, Dan. Great being on. Bye-bye.
You bet. That's our friend Merrill Reese. Absolutely, man.